Well, hello then there again, everybody. Today, we're going to take the step after we just did the tangent graphs yesterday, and we're going to shift them. It's really not that any more difficult than was shifting sine and cosine graphs. The only difference is when you're graphing these, you'll still do your parent function. You're just going to wind up, these graphs tend to be a little bit messier because they have extra sets of asymptotes, because you have to put in the parent asymptotes and then you have to shift them. So just like with the sine graphs and cosine graphs, you have the generic function, a tangent b x minus h plus k, where once again your h and your k are your shift. These two guys are our shift. So what I'll do is I'm just going to jump right into an example, and I'll work with y equals -2 tangent of 2x plus pi over 4 minus 3. Now, just like before, you'll notice that in this case you've got your b value is hiding within the parentheses, which means we got to bring this guy out first. Okay, so basically I'm dividing both. Excuse me. Pardon me. I'm bringing these guys out. So I rewrite. I get -2 tangent 2x plus. Now this is going to become pi over 8. Because when you distribute this back in, you want to make sure that you can create this fraction to become a fourth. Okay? So now we know that you have your parent and our shift. We know our parent is just our regular x and y. Our shift in this case is going to be x minus pi over 8. And that's going to be y minus 3. So we know the graph is going to move left and it's going to move down. Okay? Our a value is -2. That means that our graph is going to be doing this. It's going to work the opposite direction. Our b value is 2, so that gets us our period is going to be pi over 2. Remember, period is always pi over b for a tangent. So we start. Make this a little bit larger again. Oops. Just to show you where I'm at. My water bottle. Okay. So from here, with any luck, we know that our period is pi over 2, so we're going to put in 2 sets of asymptotes. Just like that. We know the distance between here and here has to be pi over 2, so on one half it has to be pi over 4, and the other half has to be negative pi over 4. Our a value is your where the graph is going to change directions at, so we just have to plot those 2 points. 1, 2, 1, 2. And we got to figure out what's halfway between 0 and a fourth. That'll be pi over 8. And it'll be negative pi over 8 here. Since our a value is negative, that means it's decreasing from left to right, so we have to put it in our ordered pairs here. Remember, it always goes through the origin, and here. Now this is going to be a parent graph, so it's going to be another dotted line. Yes, you have a lot of dotted lines with these guys because of the asymptotes. Okay? So it should look kind of like that. Now, this is where writing our ordered pairs in the same order every single time is going to become so much easier for when we have to list out our shift ordered pair. So working from left to right, I know that my first ordered pair was at negative pi over 8, comma 2, 0, 0, and then pi over 8, negative 2. Our 2 asymptotes get listed next at negative pi over 4 and positive pi over 4. Okay? Now, we know that every one of these values has to move left, pi over 8, and move down 3. So we'll do the math on all that first. So negative pi over 8 minus pi over 8 is going to give us negative pi over 4. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Negative pi over 8 and negative 3. One of the things you'll notice always for tangent graphs, since you have one point for the parent function that always goes through the origin, your shift, your h and your k, is the new point where it goes through. And then once again, pi over 8, subtract pi over 8, I get 0 and negative 5. Okay. Going with my asymptotes still have to move. So negative pi over 4 minus pi over 8 would be negative 3 pi over 8. And then this guy would be pi over 8. Okay? Now, it's okay that the stuff that's written down right now technically is not there. Those are air quotes. Is not there. So it's okay that our shifted points can cross over any of these asymptotes or any of the curve here at whatsoever. I'm just going to go ahead and put in my new asymptotes. Pi over 8, negative 3 pi over 8. Well, here's my pi over 8. 3 pi over 8, I just have to make another marking for it. Negative 3 pi over 8. And again, throw in my asymptotes. Okay. Now we go from ordered pairs. Negative pi over 4, negative 1, negative pi over 8, negative 3, and 0, negative 5. Now this curve is technically there, so now I'm going to draw the solid line. And go from there. Okay. Remember, when you do tangent stuff, and I know a lot of you guys are putting it on the Go formative, and you're doing really well with doing that. This might not be the world's worst assignment if you just have a sheet of paper. And again, notice my graph is the size of the pen that I'm using. Okay. So that way you get the idea of how much space I'm using. All right, let's do one more real quick. Let's see, y equals 3 tangent x minus pi over 2, and we'll do a plus 1. Okay. Always start with the basics. Your a value is 3. Your b value, well, the b value is just going to be 1, so that was a nice easy one I gave you there. Our h is pi over 2, and our k value is 1. So we know we'll have our parent, and we'll have our shift. We know that the parents are just the regular xy points. Our shifts are going to be x plus pi over 2 and y plus 1. Okay. Our period is going to be pi, because it's pi over b, and b is 1. Once again, we start. I know that my shift's going to go to the right, and it's going to move up. So I might draw this line a little bit longer, have a little bit more space if need be. Okay. Asymptotes. Remember, the distance between these two is the period, and the period is pi from here to here. So that means 1/2 is pi over 2, the other half is pi over 2 negative. So we label it pi over 2 negative, pi over 2 positive. We know it's going to go through the origin, and we have an a value of 3. Since our a value is positive, that means this curve is moving up and right. So our halfway spots at negative pi over 4 and positive pi over 4, we're at negative 3 and at positive 3. Draw your asymptotes. Like so. Ordered pairs, go from left to right always. It's much easier this way. Negative pi over 4, negative 3, 0, 0, and pi over 4, positive 3. Asymptotes, negative pi over 2, positive pi over 2. I guess I should have on the earlier one, I forgot to write down that these were technically x equals, because those are the asymptotes. I forgot to label that. Okay. So now we have our ordered pairs to shift. If I add 1/2 to a -4th, I get a +4th, so it's a pi over 4. And last I checked, -3 plus 1 is -2. This one we should be able to do okay. Like so. Gee, I bet you Pano even got that one right. Feeney probably not. Pi over 4, add that, we get a 3 pi over 4 and a 4. And then our new asymptotes will be at 0 and will be at pi when I'm adding that to the x values here. So it's now our new asymptote. If it ever happens to be on the axis, you just kind of just draw over it. You know, you just write down a 0 here, no big deal. Our other one is at pi, so I have to keep the same spacing. Should be okay. That's close enough. That's my new asymptote at pi. Pi over 4, -2. Pi over 2, 1. Gotta put one more point in here at 3 pi over 4. And this guy will be at 4, so I'm going to put a tick up there, about here-ish. And then we just draw it. Hug your asymptote. Kind of go through the points, or just make the dot much bigger, and then it hits it. All right, so I'll throw a couple of these on the Go Formative site for you to give a shot and see how we do. I know we don't have class tomorrow, so I hope you guys enjoy your 3-day weekend. And hopefully by now we might know what's going on the week after. So we shall see. And remember, take your time, be kind to one another, wash your hands, and try and stay out of trouble. Be good, people.